You know, another thing like that is joke dancing. You start out joke dancing,
Yeah.
and then you're at a wedding or something, and you go, okay, I better do serious dancing, and you realize, I f***ed up. I can't do serious
There's
dancing.
no other dance I can do now. And you realize that the joke dance was really serious the whole time.
Can I just pause it here?
Officially
Don't ever joke dance. Because
a white thing,
you
right?
forget how to really dance. So when you're doing like an 80s thing, you'll go to a wedding and it'll be an important dance and you will have lost your serious vocabulary. It's a curse. We were talking earlier about,
the wedding, though.
you know, when you do joke things like without further to do, or if it's any constellation, if you do those too much, you forget what the real one is.
You mean like running for president?
What?
Like if you just run as a joke?
Oh, that should have been the headline of the Post yesterday when they had Trump. Oops, I won.
He's like the dog that has to like drive the car with the screaming children in the back. It's like chased it.
That'll be his inaugural address. He'll come out and go, whoa, I guess we got to start doing this now.
No, it won't be because Trump is already president in his own head.
Right.
He's like, all right, the execution start at dawn. Happy to take the Oval Office.
You finally agree with me. Okay, let's play this thing.
Yeah.
thanks for agreeing to do this. You guys are
Awesome,
touring
dude.
Canada now with Death from Above.
Amazing. Can I say the F word?
You may say the F word, yes.
It's amazing, man. I have to be honest, we needed this. We really needed a tour like this that was kicking ass and being able to
See, he's ready to jump right in.
or hang out with someone that you love immediately and feel a kinship to is kind of just what the doctor ordered, you know. Especially
Canadians-
for the weird way that the last few months have poured out, you know.
And
'Cause
how
it's
have
a
they poured out?
It's more than a sound. Paris is more than a soundbite. It's this process for us. And leading into it is this tour, which is the best thing we could have had.
Well, it was like a new beginning. It was like being reborn in a way.
Everything was new. Every show we did after that was like for the first time, you know, because it was strange. I've never had security before, you know, and I've always actually kind of looked at bands that have had security and been like, yeah, that's kind of weird, you know, like what do you possibly, but I don't think I would actually go anywhere without it now.
I don't think you should.
Hi, this is Anthony Cumia,
Hello, I'm Gavin McInnes,
and together we're Compound Censored.
and we would like you to subscribe with this deal using this promo code right below me right now.
Do it, because it's very entertaining.
Well, I've been talking to Jesse quite a bit about that night. In fact, we were talking that the night it happened quite a bit. And I've got a feeling that it was much bigger than just a few extremists going into the Bataclan. I think it was set up. I get kind of 9/11 conspiracy-ish about it.
It was an incredibly, I mean, because the Bataclan gets so much of the attention, it takes the focus off the immediate fact that it was 6 separate targets. So
Right.
it was multiple like coordinated attack that required multiple teams. So if you're talking even more than 4 targets, each target has a team of 4 to 6 to 8 people.
Right.
Because I'm convinced, I mean, I was so alert, mostly because I was looking for my girl. See, she's always on the side of stage, and when we finally, it was like a process to get off the stage for us. Once we got out of the immediate view of the main part of the stage, we were behind the curtains because to get to the door, they started shooting on the stage at this point. Because there were 4 people out, there were 2 up top and 2 at the bottom. And I didn't see my girl, I didn't see Tuesday, and that worried me because I knew that the only other place she would go would be up with Sean London at the sound booth. And the last thing I saw as we finally got off stage when they reloaded was they put their clips in and they just turned on either side of the sound booth and just were pop, 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 firing. And the sound booth was just, I thought Sean was dead for sure. But I wasn't gonna, I don't know, something else kicked in, dude. I don't know how else to describe it, but fears took a weird side seat, and where's my girl took over. And,
Right.
and I got into this like little area where you could have gone left to go out back into the main area of the theater, or right into where the alleyway was. And I said out loud, I gotta find Tuesday. And Eden Galindo, he plays with us and he's our tech, he put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, I'll go with you. And that was an epic choice because I knew exactly what the fuck was happening. I knew exactly, I was terrified. I knew that I could smell gunpowder in the backstage area, so I knew somebody had fired a round back there, and it couldn't have been any of the dudes up front. So I was really nervous, but I knew Tuesday would not know what to do. And so I ran back upstairs into our backstage, and our backstage door was propped open, which is fucking weird. You know, that never happens when you're on stage, ever. Your backstage door is shut. And Eden went into the dressing room, and I opened up a doorway that went into a hallway that goes to the front. And there was a dude at the front of it holding an FAL. I mean, I knew what it was because I've seen them a lot. It's like a big AR. Wasn't an AK-47 for sure, but his back was to me. And when I ran in, the door opened outward, and I was like, "Fuck!" And it shut behind me. And I thought he'd heard that, and I was like, I'm doomed. But he didn't really move, so I just started like tiptoeing back. And then he finally noticed me, and he turned. And I remember I saw his eyes; they looked like marbles. And I also recognized him. I'd seen him earlier in the day.
What?
So, yeah, I had seen Sean London and I and several other people at the venue separately. We ID'd two of the dudes together and three separately, people that had been there the whole day.
Wow. Were they working there, or they just were sort of mulling around?
They were hanging out, you know, and I got a lot of shit for saying that security was involved. I never said security was involved, but these guys, they let 3 people go in the commencement of the attack. They knew people. They've been hanging out for months. Absalom had been partying, doing blow, going to gay bars, going to clubs. He knew doormen. He knew people enough in the scene to let them go when he saw them. So these guys like knew people, you know. So I'm sure they knew a doorman.
Yeah.
Because
what's
right,
wrong with?
Right before I walked on stage, Sean London's iPod died, so we had to come to the back to get one of our iPods to play the opening music. And we had noted earlier in the day, these dudes had been staring him down. Every time he'd walk out of the venue, I was at the bus and I was watching these guys, and I just chalked it up to like Arab envy, you know, which is, you know, the typical like Muslim envy of a cocky, white, you know, big white American dude with tattoos, you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like, you know, it
Don't
happens.
puss out.
And
Say the truth.
Sean had come to me earlier in the day, and I'm like, those dudes are eyeballing you. And we both concluded that they must have thought he was security. And I had no frame of reference, but I'm sure they did think he was security. I'm sure they were sizing him up, because one of the dudes was Absalom, the one they arrested. I recognized him. I ID'd him there. So later on, before we went on stage, we see these 2 dudes. They're in like shorts and trench coats. Furthermore, if you go to YouTube, my girl she periscoped one of the fucking dudes in her 18 minutes before the shooting started, in the backstage, like in the back where the stairwell goes to the balcony that faces the venue. So right where they emerged from, she gets this dude, and in real time, when she was periscoping it, the comments that popped up, in real time there's comments popping up. Who's that dude? He looks out of place. Like all over the world. Like there was a general, they think we're fools. They think we're fools. You know, these guys, there was no hostage situation at the Bataclan. That was an interesting element of the press, because kids were calling as they were hiding in rooms. It was reported that they were being held in rooms. So the police observed this, and they rightfully like were setting up for negotiations. Meanwhile, inside, these guys are being heard saying shit like, "Why aren't they coming in? What the fuck?" And just shooting people, sticking them to see if they're alive, and then if they move, boom. One girl stood up and said, "Why are you doing this? I'm scared." And the dude, this is right before I got off stage, the dude looked at her and went, "Don't be scared. You'll be dead in 2 minutes." Boom.
Oh my God.
And it was. I never heard anyone speak any Arabic. I never heard that. I'm really attentive and alert of my audience because I interact with them so much. I spend a lot of time trying to know which one's the most likely boyfriend to get upset if I'm getting too close to his girl. I mean, really, these are skills that have developed not from necessarily noble needs, you know what I mean, but have developed nonetheless. So the shooting started immediately to the right of the soundboard, which is well inside the club, right where the stairs from the balcony come down. That's where they started. The first two emerged, they opened up fire, boom, boom, boom. Then the second, there were 3 volleys that it started off with. The first volley were the 2 dudes downstairs as they were walking away from each other, and I could see their muzzle flash as they separated. And the second volley was the 2 dudes at the top after they took position shooting down. And then there was a third volley, and there were 2 handgun rounds, pop, pop, that I heard in the back, and it was probably just a securing the area type fire, but I heard them because I counted them. And I never heard any Arabic shouting or anything like that. I didn't. I mean, I think people sometimes assume they've heard something or it's suggested to them, and maybe, but I never heard it.
So you think that these were well sort of assimilated, probably the wrong word, Parisians who had lived there for a long time, spoke French without an accent, and had just been, radicalized in the West.
It was someone who had come and hung out socially, because the Bataclan was the target.
Well, that's what perplexes me about this. We had, 130 people die from that whole thing. And if you're talking about even a 1-for-1 ratio as far as organization, we've got 150 people organizing this event. This is not one lone
easily.
gunman at a Batman theater.
Oh, it just common sense dictates that reality. I mean, there seems to be a concerted effort to almost confound that conclusion, but if you simply just consider it, the bombers at the stadium, the bombers the people at the Bataclan, the 3 other places around Paris that were hit, those had to have spotters, quartermasters. We already know that Absalom was the quartermaster. That's the dude who arms people. So there had to have been other quartermasters. I mean, they were trying to make a statement, and unfortunately for them, their grand statement was confused by the Bataclan taking so much of the attention because it's taken so much attention singularly, it's taken attention off the overall attack that it was on Paris at one time. I mean, because these idiots, they are kind of idiots because they didn't coordinate their watches. So the dudes at the stadium showed up an hour late. That's why it failed. That's no shit. And because the president was there, it had an all clear fucking protocol for the parking area, so they could be seen literally coming a mile away.
Wow. Yeah, I went there the day after it happened, and we actually found human remains by the stadium. And what really shocked me wasn't that. It was the Parisian attitude, which was, let's not exaggerate here. Let's not get too emotional. And we were filming some people in the north, in the Muslim area, and this woman stops us. It's always a woman. And she goes, "Don't get it twisted. Don't twist it." And I'm like, twist what? And then we talked to the Muslims there who all said it was the Jews.
Yeah. And then a day after, at the soccer stadium, when they continued the game, the entire audience of Muslims booed the moment of silence for the victims.
Yeah. Well, it makes you think
and the press, there was like scant coverage in the press. I personally saw Muslims celebrating in the street. I saw it with my own eyes, dude, in real time as they were still firing in the Bataclan. I saw it with my own fucking eyes, dude. That requires coordination. That requires information coordination and someone to spread it around and coordinate it. I mean, dude, when you think like that, then you really understand that, when the French went in, they shut down like 450 mosques. They found recruitment material in every one of them.
Wow.
Who's the guy in the background?
All of them.
He's from Death from Above.
What
Jesse Keeler.
what the fuck is wrong with us that we don't want to know about that? Like, what the fuck?
Well, it seems like these terrorists know that we're sensitive about being seen as Islamophobic, and they take advantage of that by exaggerating every transgression just to sort of anesthetize us to future attacks.
And then they also know that there's a whole sector of white kids that are stupid and blind.
Yeah.
Affluent, wealthy white kids who have grown up in a liberal curriculum from the time they were in kindergarten, having themselves inundated with these notions, these lofty notions that really amount to little more than just hot air.
Yeah.
And look at where it's getting them.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to ask you. You grew up with a real dad, a real man for a dad. Do you think that upbringing showed up in your sort of cerebral, your subconscious when you were in the attack?
Dude, I'm telling you, the reason why I feel like I've been like the most successful in negotiating the healing process is because nothing I was ever raised with was questioned by what happened. Everything I've ever believed in was affirmed. And in a way, that's a beautiful, blissful blessing of God when you are able to walk with that, because so many times there were 3 separate instances where I got really angry, not at the people themselves, but at the situation. The first was when the first bullet started being fired. Everyone looked at me. I remember that, and it pissed me the fuck off because I knew right then and there that it was going to be bad. I knew that these kids had no idea what was coming. None. They'd never heard a gunshot in real life, and it hit them so hard. I saw fear like a blanket fall on the whole crowd, and they fell like weed in the wind. And they looked at me, and then all of a sudden, they only realized in the most primitive way, mortal danger, and fell to their feet, to their faces in terror, the way you would fall before a god. And that infuriated me because I knew what gunfire was. I was able to think through it. I was also able to remember practical lessons of my life about, because I had to be in fights. My mom didn't go sue anyone. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have play dates. I had some practical upbringing growing up in the desert too, where you got to get yourself out of your problems, you know? So I had my eyes open. I kept my head up. I was thinking about my friends, able to get through my fear of myself and be like, fuck, some of us, okay. Because Davey was in the middle of the stage, and when the lights went on, you know, he saw shit he'd never seen before in his life. And I mean, awful stuff, dude. It has no parallel on anything that I've ever experienced. And because it's not just, I don't know how, it's not just death, it's the most unsuspecting, innocent victim, you know, you can imagine. And people who are gripped in terror and can't move as a result of it, it's not fair. And when you're watching it in real time and you're thinking about it, it's not fair, you know, and there was nothing we could do about it. And I watched about 7 people die, and a couple of them, they were literally 3 feet from where they were 3 feet from the barrier. They could have fallen backwards and been alive. And they were too scared to even turn around and even think about it. And just standing with their hands up like this until the dude finally saw her, and all she did was go, no, 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 no. She surrendered to death in front of my very eyes. And I was yelling at her. I remember I was going, hey, like, what the fuck? And she wouldn't, I don't think she could hear me. I think she was so terrified. I think she'd already given it up, you know? She'd already given it up. And that to me is not fucking fair.
Well, in a way, we're unarmed twofold. We're literally unarmed, meaning we don't have guns, and a gun would have made a massive difference at that place. And then we're unarmed socially because we go, oh no, there can't be anything wrong here. There's no such thing as conflict.
Have you ever read Animal Farm?
Yeah.
The bleeding sheep. I've never understood that phrase more in my life than I understand now, because you say something, you suggest anything that is in line with what we're suggesting right now, and bleed, bleed, bleed. It's just this fucking chorus of voices comes to drown you out, and shit doesn't happen by accident, dude. You know, and where's this big push coming from? I mean, Arab money is a pollutant as far as I see it, dude, and it's only like so many movies are made right now with Arab money. There's George Clooney doesn't kiss the ass of the Arabs for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, there's a fuck reason. They make movies, and that's the most important means by which people influence the hearts and minds of the modern world, is through the movies and the social media which supports them. And
Well, yeah, you never see bad guys that are terrorists in movies anymore. It's always Germans and French and Nazi skinheads.
mostly conservative Christian rednecks. And like, you know, it seems like it's almost a suggestion that conservative Christian rednecks are responsible for every bad thing in the world now, including global warming. But, you know, there was another ice age. And so since there were no rednecks and Christian Republicans back then, what caused that meltdown? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and the other irony, too, is when you get rid of these horrible Christian conservative rednecks and you say you guys are too mean, you create a vacuum, and that vacuum gets filled by someone way worse than even your fake hysterical paranoia.
well, and the original conservative Christians, what did they really say? They said rock and roll is going to lead to some crazy shit, and look at it. They may have been correct.
Well, that's the funny thing about wiping out tradition. I don't know why my picture's frozen here, but you can still hear me, right?
I can hear you, but I see this like mean look. No, I'm just kidding.
It is a concerned face you've got on right now.
We kicked out Catholicism and said, no, we don't need that. And then it just seems like everything we do are futile attempts to replace the thing we just got rid of. Like I was thinking about rehab is just Lent. You talk to all these atheists who go, I needed to pursue Buddhism because I was getting stressed. I need to meditate. We go to therapists to simulate a priest. We just keep trying to get back to the traditionalism we kicked out.
And then we keep fucking ourselves because the Bible at least is written down, so you can't really fucking change it once it's out of Latin. But a therapist will do whatever the fuck he wants to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. The same patient could come by an hour later, and there's no sort of sugar pill. It would be could be a totally different analysis.
And there's something, you know, Santa Claus seems to work on kids because they think he knows when they're good and bad and keeping a list. So Jesus, watching every move we make, can help fucking sometimes. When politicians think that they can be seen lying, that's a whole lot fucking better than them thinking no one knows if it ain't seen.
Too true. Hey, I'm going to try hanging up and calling you back because I'm worried that we're losing this connection. Can we do that? Just take 2 seconds.
Yeah. Call back.
2 seconds.
So, if you enjoyed that clip,
Then subscribe to Compound Censored using this promo code.